come back for the second. India have won the test match. India have won the series. They're going to get back for two. India at home. Lords goes wild.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of the 81 All Out podcast. This is your host, Siddhartha Vaidyanathan, and I'm joined today by two regulars and a guest. Two regulars being Ashoka and Kartikeya. Listeners of 81 All Out are familiar with both of them, and I'll link their handles. I'll link Kartikeya's Substack, his articles for Cricinfo, and so forth. And we also have a special guest from Dhaka, Mohammad Isam, who has, of course, been a guest on our podcast before to talk about Bangladesh cricket. Isam is the one-stop shop for everything Bangladesh, as far as I'm concerned. News, features, reportage, profiles, long form, everything, tweets. And I'm also convinced he has a part to play in running of Bangladesh cricket. So, hey, Isam, welcome. Hope all is okay.
Yeah, hi, Sid. That was a very flattering intro. Thank you.
The last time Isam was here, of course, we spoke about the book that he brought out. And, I'll put a link to that podcast. I'll put a link to the book. You should read it. It's a wonderful set of pieces on cricket in Bangladesh. And Isam has, of course, had a very exciting last few weeks. He has been in Pakistan, in Rawalpindi, two of the finest tests of all time. And, to see Bangladesh pull off a 2-0 win in Pakistan, both tests coming back from being down. As far as I think most people are concerned, their finest achievement in cricket and two of the finest victories. How was it? I mean, tell us about, has it sunk in yet?
Yeah, it was the part that was amazing was the surprise of it. When I was boarding the flight to Islamabad, I remember telling myself that I will try to write. My main concern was the last 2 days of the test match, because Bangladesh often don't make it to the fourth or fifth day. They have, especially in overseas conditions. I've covered the test matches in India, New Zealand, Sri Lanka. Except for Sri Lanka, they've really struggled elsewhere. Coming off the back of a really disastrous World Cup campaign in the US and West Indies, I wasn't, prepared for this, but that was the best part. And then there was like a lot of big and small moments in Rawalpindi that really, it was like the greatest time for me as far as a reporter is concerned. You cannot ask for anything else. A miracle, to be honest. There will be a lot of talk about how Pakistan looks shoddy at times in their planning and in their execution, but I think Bangladesh was going to be the underdog throughout, even after winning the first test match. Everyone was waiting for Pakistan to hit back hard. They did try. It was very much another underdog story. So two test matches where Bangladesh had to come from behind, and those are like the best test matches, right? You guys obviously know. It was just worth watching, and I don't remember a moment in the press box where I felt not excited, whether they were playing well or not. It was just absorbing cricket throughout.
Yeah, first test, Pakistan scored 448 for 6 declared. And it's very rare that a team loses a test match after declaring in the first innings. So that itself was a huge comeback. They got bowled out Bangladesh bowled them out for 146 in the second innings. And then in the second test, even more, I think, of a miraculous comeback with, Pakistan scoring 274, Bangladesh reduced to 26 for 6. And quite poetic, actually, because 26 for 6 is a very memorable score for fans of Pakistan cricket, because they have come back from 26 for 6 on multiple occasions against India. And for Bangladesh to do that, it was quite, I don't even know. It was surreal is probably the word.
Absolutely. 26 for 6 is obviously the Kolkata test match from 1999 when Salim Malik and Moin Khan. I remember that test match like it was yesterday. The moment they were 26 for 6, I was just, I got slightly nostalgic that this was happening again. But in my wildest dream, I didn't think the enigmatic Liton Das or even the really informed Mehidy Hasan can turned around, and it was just them. It was just them because the tail was just around the corner. It was just an amazing way to come back. I remember hearing stories of. I even wrote about it yesterday. It was published in Cricinfo that the manager of the team, Ravi Dimam, I think you know him as a media manager, but now he's the manager of the team. Apparently, he was pacing around in the dressing room when 5 wickets fell. When the sixth wicket fell, he just couldn't sit in that dressing room, so he started to walk down the stairs. And just when he was walking down the stairs, Mehdi struck the first boundary of that partnership and the second boundary, back-to-back boundaries, I think. And then Ravi Dimam just sat down on the stairs, and he kept sitting there for 4 hours. Like it was one of those moments that we see in movies sometimes, like in the 83 movie when Kapil Dev was batting in Tunbridge Wells. The manager kept them all sitting in the same spot. I think that's a cricket team for you. And the most amazing story from that aspect was that the team completely believed in Mehdi and Liton. They knew that whatever they're going to do, they're going to bail the team out from that situation. So, I mean, sitting in the press box, of course, you are surrounded by Pakistani journalists who were encouraging me because they had seen me. And interestingly, I was the only Bangladeshi traveling journalist in this series, which is even rare. We have Bangladeshi journalists have in the last sort of 15 years often been the highest number of people in a press box in a World Cup or any other major tour that Bangladesh have been on. They usually, in Sri Lanka, sometimes we beat the locals with the number of people we have in the press box. So this was a very rare occasion when other journalists couldn't travel because businesses were closed, offices were having trouble back home. So no TV channels, no newspaper, no online, no one was there. So that was another. We'll talk about it, but I mean to experience those moments and then said the most surreal moment for me was when Nahid Rana was bowling that spell on the fourth day of the second test match, and so he was getting rid of Babar, Shan Masood, and Saud Shakil. That spell, that defining spell, and I was standing at the balcony of the Rawalpindi press box. It was very hot, but the interesting part was there was not a single person at the ground other than the journalists and the players and the security forces. So no one was cheering on, and no one was talking. So I could hear what was being said in the middle easily. And I suddenly realized that one of the Bangladesh fielders, Taskin Ahmed, who just looked at me, and I think he also realized that I was only Bangladesh in that ground, because usually a few families would turn up from the Bangladesh High Commission, people who worked in the Bangladesh High Commission in Islamabad. So they turned up almost every day, but they would turn up after midday. So maybe after lunch, they would come with Bangladesh flags. So you could see a few Bangladesh flags at the ground. But that morning it was just empty, and that empty. I wrote about that empty feeling, and this guy bowling at 150, at times at 150, which was another unique part of covering Bangladesh, because I've never seen Bangladeshi bowlers hitting that speed and making people duck and jump. So all in all, it was just those two test matches. I mean, just if you look at the cricket of it from Bangladesh, was great.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I mean, all of us have, obviously been following Bangladesh cricket, not as closely as you, of course, but also for me, it was always almost in the back of my mind. I'm like, okay, they have done well, but they are going to collapse very soon. There is always that feeling that they are going to mess up. And then when they actually didn't mess up continuously, you're like, oh my God, this is what is happening. This is some alternate reality happening here. What must have been similar for you, right? I mean, given the number of years, you must have seen them mess up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was always around the corner. You could sense that there was going to be a collapse at some point. In the first innings, when every time there was a partnership, I was thinking that this will follow. Usually, a partnership is followed by one or two wickets in that same sort of, in that half an hour, in those half an hour. So it was great of batters like Mushfiq, Shadman, Mominul, Liton. They just pushed their limits, and then obviously Mehidy Miraj came. I spoke to Shan Masood after the first Test match, and actually I was with a friend there, Behram Kazi, who does who works with Jared, I think.
Yeah, Def Mango.
Def Mango, yes. So we were at the at the hotel where he was speaking to Shan, and Shan just looked at me and said, Bhai, whenever I was looking at the scoreboard, I was just trying to notice how many deliveries that Mehidy Hasan Miraz batted. It was 100, 120, and he ended up playing, I think, 170 or something. So having a number eight do that, it changed the whole complexion of the team. And then coming back from 26 for 6, again, Mehidy Hasan Miraz was involved in that recovery. I think you guys will remember that he played those two miraculous knocks against India in December 2022. They were 9 down, needing 40 to win, and he was batting with one of the worst batters in Bangladesh, Mr. Fizur Rahman. And even in that second ODI, India had them 65 for 6. I have a theory. I have a theory of these two, miracles, like the ones in Rawalpindi and the one back home when Bangladesh beat India. I think it's ego sometimes. I think with big teams with Bangladesh, as you expect, as I expect, as we all expect them to collapse right around the corner. I think Bangladesh surprised India back then without a warning. They just shot back and won those two games. And here, I think Pakistan declaring at 448 for 6 was just them thinking, having just one plan, we'll bowl them out for 200 or less than 200 twice, that'll be it. And I think that was the mistake that they made, and that was where Bangladesh truly stepped up in these test matches.
Yeah, Ashoka, I know you've followed a bit of the series, and you've also been a follower of Bangladesh cricket. Any questions for Isam? Any thoughts on the series?
No, I mean, see, I can understand when Isam is talking how great it must be because from 2016 or 15, I'm not sure, since the debut of Mehidy Hasan Miraz, right? And I remember them winning a test against England at home, right? Since that time, I've always thought that this is a team that has turned a corner. Like, at least at home, Bangladesh would be, a very, very competent team. And that would generally, make you a very good test team, because most test teams are very good at home, 50-50 when they travel. So I thought that would be the case. The only thing that I was worried about in Bangladesh cricket, following Bangladesh cricket, was their pace bowling. But then you had also the second wind of Taskin Ahmed coming up and new bowlers coming up. So leading up even to the World Cup, right? And even in this pod, we have spoken that Bangladesh could be a dark horse in that World Cup preview. We did a World Cup preview and we were saying that Bangladesh really looked good. So
yeah, this was the 2023 ODI World Cup, and we were thinking Bangladesh should be good team for the semis. Of course, we saw what happened in that World Cup, but
that was that. So that has always been, my experience of following Bangladesh cricket, at least in the last 10 years. Like, for a period, they'll show like insane promise. Like, I'll think that they are the second power in Asia behind India, right? And given some years, they may even challenge India, if not.
I mean, they did challenge India in that series in Bangladesh. Yeah,
they did. Yeah, they almost pulled off a victory when Ashwin, Iyer and all, and Jaydev Unadkat bat and deny them a win. But that's been my experience. So for a casual viewer like me, or a casual follower like me who doesn't do intense following of Bangladesh cricket, but keeps himself informed, it's frustrating. So I must understand how it is to exclusively cover Bangladesh cricket. So I can really sense how great this test win must be, because at least when it comes to this series, I was really fortunate, because when they said both tests are in Rawalpindi when this series started, I thought this was going to be a 0-0 draw, because we know the pitches in Rawalpindi doesn't, and the way Pakistan Cricket Board treats Rawalpindi, they treat it like a national highway. So I thought there was not going to be any much result. If there is going to be result, I think one collapse from Bangladesh, it will be 0-1 or something is what I was thinking. And I was very lucky because the few glimpses I have had in this series is Bangladesh bowling and Pakistan collapsing. Those are the things that I saw. I did not even see this 26 for 6 collapse. I saw the Litton and Mehidy, and then I think Hassan Mahmood also has a partnership with Litton. So I saw those. and I saw Bangladesh bowling, and I was like, wow, this is a great series, dude. Like, these guys have really, really come too far. They were really competitive, man, and especially their bowling, pace bowling. I always thought Shoriful is like a good, slot for a bowler in tests. But these two guys, Hassan Mahmood and Rana, they're like amazing, dude. And I am also missing that one other person who was in the Asia Cup. This guy is called Tanzim Shakib, I think. He was
Yes,
also,
yes.
he is also very nippy. He's very fast. He can seam the ball, And I was thinking, why don't they give him a chance as well? But I then saw his first class record. He's just 21 and doesn't have an extensive first class record. So maybe in the future he will join this pack. So exciting time for Bangladesh, and there is a parallel series that was going on Sri Lanka and England. Exciting time for Sri Lanka as well, because I think their pace attack, if it is fit for a long amount of time, these teams can be a good mid-table threat to your top three.
Yeah. Isam, we can get to it. I thought we'll get to it later, but I think we should start with it right now and tell us a bit about Nahid Rana. I had really no idea about him before the series, and when I was watching him bowl, it was like of course the way he was hurrying the batters. It's not often that you see it. Of course, we've had glimpses of promise before from Bangladeshi pace. We shouldn't forget Rubil Hussain, Ibadat Hussain, and all of that. But even then, this seems like a notch above pace-wise and great control through the series. Tell us a bit about him.
It's a very interesting story, Sid. He is not from the usual pathway that Bangladeshi cricketers take. He took up cricket ball at the in the year 2020. So just 4 years ago.
Wow.
Which is an amazing story given how difficult it is sometimes. Especially he comes from the northwest. It's a place called Chapai Nawabganj. It is close to Rajshahi. But it is way out of the cricketing circle in Dhaka. So now you have this kid who really likes to play table tennis cricket. He's very fast, but his father and his brother told him that until you finish your college exam, like for Bangladesh, class 12 is college. So until you finish your class 12 exam, you're not going to get the cricket ball. Or the moment you get a cricket ball in your hand is obviously in an academy, in a proper setting, in a nets. You can't really have informal cricket ball experience. So he, according to one interview I read of him from a couple of months ago, he said that, well, I passed it quite easily and I was very excited about joining cricket practice. He did join a place in Rajshahi called I think it's called the Clemon Cricket Academy. It's quite famous in Bangladesh. So he joins up, and he, his coach is a senior figure called Alamgir Kabir, who played 3 test matches for Bangladesh many years ago, I think 22 years ago. And takes him
I think in the
way.
early days of test cricket, right? I remember this name.
Yes. So he takes over, and Alamgir Kabir is also credited with the find of Shoriful. So he found Shoriful in the same way. Shoriful is also from up north. So he gets Nahid Rana, backs him, treats him really well, and corrects his run up. Apparently, corrects his arm action slightly, and tells him that, look, a lot of coaches will come and tell you to change this, change that. Don't do that. Stick to what you know best, because he has a disconcerting action. I think you've seen that his arm rolls around a little more fast. The coil that he has is a little whippy, so he stuck to that, and then he makes his debut in first class cricket in the 2021-22 season. Up in Rajshahi, there's a lot of cricket academies where they do serious scouting. So Nahid Rana was in the right place, and around that time, obviously, Bangladesh were looking for fast bowlers everywhere. There was like a conscious effort to look for fast bowlers. They found him, and so he was handed a first class debut, which was only possible in places like Rajshahi, because they don't have a lot of talent around as far as fast bowling is concerned. So this gave the guy a debut. He was quite fit, and I think he played 2 or 3 matches in that first season. Then he came back the next season, even fitter. He bowls fast. He gets 32 wickets, which is the first time in like 12, 11 or 12 seasons that a fast bowler gets 30 all wickets in a first class season. That gets a lot of notice. He gets a BPL contract, but doesn't play a lot, and comes through to Dhaka. When you have played BPL, of course, people start to notice you. He gives away a few runs in the two BPL seasons, but doesn't matter. I mean, by then, Alan Donald has had wind of him. All the Dhaka bigwigs know about Nahid Rana, and he's become like those of us who follow the team absolutely on a day-to-day basis. We have heard this name from like a year ago, and then it starts to, you get a sense of it that this be in the team. So earlier this year, he makes his test debut against Sri Lanka. He hurries them around. Sri Lankan batters are really good against pace, especially in Bangladesh. But I think he takes 4 wickets in that first test match. Then he's rested, obviously, because they don't want to rush him. And I'm pretty sure he played the Dhaka Premier League, but with not much fanfare. So he just played it for one of those teams, and that was it. I think he had a bit of an injury problem at some point in his short career. So it's just 4 years, and it's amazing for a Bangladeshi cricketer to make it this far. He's not been in the under-19 setup as well, which is the biggest surprise. Because he, as I said, he was just in an academy in Rajshahi from where they picked him and took him to the first class team, and then there he is. So you can say that he's a product of first class cricket in Bangladesh, which is another rarity. So Nahid Rana comes from a family who really wanted him to study and come to Dhaka and work, but obviously he's broken that mold and become the talk of the town, really.
Yeah, he is still gone to Dhaka and working. He's just working in a different way.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing story. And hopefully, we were discussing on the group as well. And Ashoka was saying how there have been other bowlers too who have come through and who have shown so much promise, and then who tend to get injured and then get lost pretty much, after a while. So hopefully that doesn't happen in this case too.
Absolutely. I mean, Mashrafi is the biggest example of a fast bowler who really had the heart to bowl quick, but his bowling action from the start wasn't great. And then it precipitated into a situation where he was mishandled for many, many years. His fitness wasn't, taken seriously at some points. And then he has had to go through a lot of surgeries, and his test career was over in 2009. Of course, he played 10 more years, but not just him. It's been so many of them. We had a fast bowler who's now coach, Talha Jubair, who was one of the youngest players to play Test cricket. I think he played at the age of 16 or something. We had other very good bowlers like Rubel. Rubel started off as a slinger. Champaganamar Ramanayake had discovered him from a pace bowling camp. You had Mustafiz, of course. Mustafiz, obviously, one good thing about Mustafiz was that he stuck to what he knew best. I mean, white ball was his thing. Cutters were his thing. He did start well in Test cricket, but then he couldn't just bring the ball in, which probably was the reason why he never really made it in Test cricket. Taskin started, and the other thing about Nahid Rana is that normally Bangladeshi fast bowlers start very poorly in Test cricket. Ebada, Taskin, Rubel, they've all averaged very high. Mashrafi started well, but not these bowlers, and they would often be very expensive. Nahid Rana, the captain Nazmul Hossain Shanto told me that he doesn't care if Nahid Rana is going for runs as long as he's sticking to what they have asked him to do, which in this case was attack Babar Azam, attack South Shakil whenever they came into the crease. That was a sight to behold. I mean, honestly, Babar Azam was on paper, or a great player like Babar Azam could have just turned the corner, just done well in that Test series. But the way Bangladesh kept him quiet throughout the series was, people obviously talked about his weakness against left arm spin, sometimes against deliveries that moves away with, a fast bowler who does that outswing quite well. But to get Babar Azam out is a thing. So I think seeing it up close and how they worked on him over after over, I mean, that it will not be mentioned much, but on the first innings of the second Test match, technically the first day, they relentlessly bowled to him outside off stump, and it was just great to see that Bangladesh were trying to be consistent with a batter and not giving up just because he's a great batter. That was the encouraging part.
Yeah, fantastic. And then also in the Pakistan second innings, I think Bangladeshi fast bowlers took all the 10 wickets, which again, how often have we seen that happen? Maybe
Never,
never.
never.
So
The first time.
never.
That was the first time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's definitely something. Kartikeya, haven't brought you until now, but yeah, thoughts, questions for Isam or thoughts from the series? Did you get to see much of it or any of it?
I saw some of it.
Yeah.
I followed all of it. I mean, I looking through the scores and looking through the ball control records and all that. I mean, the striking thing about that 26 for 6 was that in that first 6 wickets, which fell like 69 balls, like 11.3 overs. In those 11.3 overs, Pakistan got past the bat 26 times. So it's like just over twice an over. Like every 3 balls they're getting. The last, after they were 5 down, after they were 6 down for 26, the next 400 odd balls, the innings lasted 404 more balls. Pakistan got past the bat only 43 times. So that's like 1 in 10 balls they got past the bat roughly. The 1 in 10 is basically, the expected total when you're beating the bat once in 10 balls is 600. Okay, so I mean, basically after the new ball, Pakistan had nothing. And I was looking at this. I mean, the last time Pakistan played the same new ball pair in a test match in Pakistan was in late 2021. In the last 4 series, in Australia, England, which was the other one? I think there was New Zealand also once. And New Zealand,
Sri Lanka, I think.
And Australia, England, New Zealand, and Bangladesh in Pakistan, I'm saying, in home. They've always played different new ball pairs, and they don't know who their spinner is. So they have tried Abrar Ahmed, but they don't always pick him. Sometimes they make do with Salman Aga. In that first test match, Pakistan went in with 4 fast bowlers. And basically the wicket was not like 4 fast bowler, 4 quicks, fast bowler wicket. The weather in Pakistan makes it very unlikely that you will have a pitch which is like 4 fast bowlers for like the whole test match. So, and their spinners, Salman Aga, UK, he's steady, but he's not much better than, say, Root or somebody like that. He's a part-timer. He's not really a full-time specialist spinner. Whereas Bangladesh, I think, have I think basically that Shakib and Mehidy give Bangladesh a lot of depth. In the same way that Ashwin and Jadeja give India a lot of depth. Because they can bat and they are not average spinners. They are very good spinners. And Taijul was not there in this series.
But Taijul is probably better than both.
Yeah, he's really good. He's a really top spinner. So Bangladesh have much better spinners than Pakistan right now. Things seem to be coming together for Bangladesh because on the batting side of things also they are pretty settled with Mominul, Mushfiq, Shakib, and they have sort of a. If you think about it, like Mushfiq and Mominul and Shakib and all, they are all sort of contemporaries of Kohli and that generation, and they also have some players who started a little bit later in the late 2010s. So they have a nice sort of group of test players who make them steady, and their results show it. They won a test match in New Zealand recently, and they are competitive everywhere they go. Okay, India is a different story. Not many teams come to India and do well, but I suspect Bangladesh have as good a chance as any team to do well in India, and India are not going to be this good all the time. Their attack is currently sort of uniquely good, but that's not always going to be the case. Even their current attack, if you take Bumrah and Ashwin out of it, then their attack, even in India, is not nearly as good. now that, Umesh is gone and Ishant Sharma is gone and so on and so forth. Maybe that's a separate story.
Yeah, I think the what is striking is the variety. As you said, for a long time, Bangladesh were this factory producing left arm spinners, including, of course, Mohammad Isam, who is the left arm spinner, of course, needless to say. And but now I think with leg spinners coming in, fast bowlers, like really fast bowlers coming in, and even some good seam and swing bowling throughout the series. Let's not forget, it's not just Nahid Rana, but there was some fine seam bowling also throughout this series for Bangladesh. And Taskin, the left arm spinners, Mehidy being the off spinner. I think that really every team really takes up their game up a notch when they have that kind of variety. I mean, India, of course, is the classic example where there is so much, but even if you look around, I mean, what Mitchell Stark brings to the Australian side, or what you can go around and see the kind of variety that teams have these days. I think it's amazing. Yeah, let's get to the India series a bit. I mean, irrespective of last time, for instance, I mean, again, when we previewed the Bangladesh series, we always said that if it was played in conditions where the ball got some good turn and where the Bangladeshi spinners came into play, then it could be like a good even contest. But I mean, we saw what happened last time with the pitches, and Bangladesh ended up having no clue against India's pace. You think this time there is a bit more hope there, because Bangladesh themselves are coming with a good pace, promising pace attack, and an attack that's had some good success in Pakistan?
I mean, Bangladesh has never bowled India out in India.
True.
Even in Bangladesh have bowled India out only 5 times in 16 innings, and only once below 250. And India bowled out for 243 in 2010 and 314 in 2022. Other than that, the other 4 times Bangladesh have bowled India out, India scored 429, 526, 540, and 404. I mean, you're not going to win test matches if you keep conceding runs like that. I mean, this is going to be decided on how well Bangladesh do in bowling India out. And there, I think Bangladesh have got a chance, because let's face it, the Indian batting lineup right now is unsettled, to put it mildly. I mean, the Pujara and Rahane have gone. KL Rahul has been injured. Against England, Kohli withdrew. Rohit Sharma is the only guy who has any experience. Jaiswal is in his first year. He made his debut in West Indies last year in 2023. Gill is there and thereabouts, but not much.
Rajat Patidar will probably not play.
They have no idea who. They have no settled replacement for Pujara or Rahane yet. Shreyas Iyer has back problems, and his future is in doubt. I don't even think he's in the squad right now. In the test squad, I could be wrong.
No, he's not. He's not there.
He's not in the test squad. Yeah, and Sarfaraz Khan has hardly played. Rishabh Pant is coming back from injury. He's been out for over a year now. And Bangladesh have got a really good spin attack. And so especially left arm spinners have troubled India's batsmen in recent years.
And to Bangladesh's favor, the tests in Chennai and Kanpur could favor their spinners.
Yeah, I mean, and they're different wickets. Chennai will offer bounce, Kanpur will be low. Look at the history. Kuhneman, Leach, O'Keefe. Why am I blanking on the New Zealand spinner's name?
Ajaz Patel.
Ajaz Patel, all 10 wickets.
Yeah, it's always been left arm spinners who have troubled India. If Bangladesh bowl India out twice in one of the tests, I think they'll win it. But their problem has been bowling India out. And I mean, let's not sort of. I don't think it's fair to Bangladesh to sort of expect it. I mean, Bangladesh have only played 4 test matches in India. They didn't play a test match in India until 2017. That was like 17 years after their debut, and I think that's sort of does not speak well of India. I mean, they really should have arranged a tour before then, and I don't know why they didn't. So I really, I mean,
They didn't for the same reason that Australia continues to not invite Bangladesh.
Yeah,
after all these years.
Yeah, they did know once. I mean, that with Habibul Bashar and in the
but then they stopped.
The northern winter, in Darwin and what's the other
Darwin
town?
And Cairns.
Yeah. But after that, I don't know what happened. Like Bangladesh would be great tourists in Australia. So it's not like they've got a lot of experience, but I think they have the raw material to bowl India out. And if they bowl India out, they're always in the game. I mean, that's always that. See, a lot. Yeah, India have great attack in India. That is true. But really, where most teams get into trouble in India is because they struggle to match the depth of the Indian attack. So when India face the visiting bowlers, the visitors typically have 1 or 2 really good threatening bowlers, but then the rest of the sort of the change bowling, and in some cases the 3rd, 4th, 5th best bowler happens to be a new ball bowler, not very effective, is not as threatening, right? But right now, I think this particular Bangladesh touring side, they have the potential to, they can firstly, if they play 3 spinners, like if they play Taijul and Shakib and Mehidy, then they will offer a lot of high quality overs, like a lot more than say, Nathan Lyon and whoever his partner is could offer, or definitely a lot more than, Bashir and Hartley did earlier this year. That's going to sort of suppress India's score. That's going to suppress India's score. So, I mean, this is not I mean, look, it would not be, I mean, Bangladesh, on the one hand, Bangladesh have played only 4 test matches in India. But on the other hand, in the last if you leave out Australia, right, then Bangladesh is probably the best bowling attack for Indian conditions to tour India since, I don't know, England in 2012-13. Leave aside Cummins, Stark, Hazelwood, Lyon, and whoever second spinner.
Murphy.
Leave aside that Australian attack. You leave them out, and on paper, at least, Bangladesh potentially have got, and that's mainly because they can play three very good spinners. Now, one thing I would like to get sort of Isam's view on this is that Mehidy at times seems to prefer to bowl a little bit slow, and that tends not to work as well in India. So if he can work out a method, because he's also, on the other hand, really clever. I mean, he seems to be one of these bowlers who keeps becoming better every year, that he's played. So, if Mehidy can sort that out, I think Bangladesh are in with a chance.
Dude, at least in this series, as far as I saw it, and I didn't see the entire thing, but he was bowling within the stumps, as if ending the ball on the stump line or just outside off stump. And he was in the mid 80 kilometer range, man. I mean, that is not bad. No, that is actually Kuldeep Yadav level spin. No, he's not.
But for 90. A finger spinner, that's a little slow. I mean, you need to be close to 90 Ks. I mean, Jadeja is like 92 Ks, and he gets a lot of dip at 92 Ks. That's why he's so
it's
hard.
It's unfair, no? You can't.
Yeah.
Jadeja is a slinger, man. I mean, Jadeja and Aksar will just throw darts.
But Lyon is also sort of very late 80s, like 88, 89 average in India. His faster ball is 91, 92. So, Lyon is a surprisingly quick bowler for a spinner. So that I think, if you look at the record, that's the one sort of difference, that some visiting spinners bowl a little bit too slow, and I don't think Shakib or Taijul will have this problem. They'll comfortably bowl at the required speed. But like Monty Panesar did all those years ago. But I think Mehidy, the one thing, but he also sort of seems to enjoy sort of playing the batter rather than the conditions. So if that's fair, so that would be interesting. No, I think
Yeah.
this is a deceptively hard challenge for India. I don't think it's like as one-sided as people might think. Given Bangladesh's relative inexperience in India.
But Isam, I think you should elaborate a bit on Mehidy because, by far the player of the series in this Pakistan, the two tests and, whether it's both in terms of bowling and batting, but also in terms of the number of overs he's able to get through. I mean, that itself is such a huge advantage to have a bowler who's, able to be hold that control and give that captain that many overs.
Yeah, Mehidy has this ability to bowl a lot of overs. It stems from his first class days when he played for Fulham, and then he got into Test cricket very early. 2016, of course, he bowled those long spells against England, and then got all those 19 wickets in that series. Then he had a long struggle period. Bangladesh would take him everywhere. And they tried to promote him as their next all-rounder. It took a bit of time. Took about 2 years before he started to score freely. He's a very expressive character. He has a big heart. And I think what makes a bit of difference with Mehidy and the rest of the players who are inconsistent, Mehidy is comparable to Shanto, Liton, Shommu. They are all from either the same region or from the same age group. One thing that stands out for me with Mehidy is the hunger. I think most of them have come from similar backgrounds, but Liton comes with a huge tagline of being the most talented cricketer. Shommu is compared to some great cricketers when he started off. Shanto also had a great introduction to international cricket, at least with the people talking about him. But Mehidy never really had that. That tag of being the most talented this, the most talented that. Then he walks away with 19 wickets in his first series. Still, it took people a long time to take him seriously. Like his batting, he used to bat. He was a top order player in under 19 cricket. He was the player of the series in the under 19 World Cup in 2016. Still, his batting wasn't taken seriously until he started to score runs down the order. Then he got a few promotions, scored a Test 100. So a very interesting study because he takes himself seriously. He takes his cricket very seriously. Like he's not part of Bangladesh's T20 team for a while. And he doesn't bowl 4 overs in BPL as well on most occasions. Like last season, he didn't have a great BPL in terms of his bowling, but he now has this ability to. Because Bangladesh are very good at one-day cricket, he has established himself as one of the all-rounders of the one-day team. And in the Test team, he really wanted to bat up the order, I think slightly above, but it's difficult to break into this top order. But what he has done is he's improved himself with the red ball. I think he trained very hard in the last 4 months when Bangladesh were away, getting beaten in USA and the West Indies. And I think that is one way of motivating yourself, that if you're not part of the main group, you're training back home, nobody really gives a damn of what you're doing in Bangladesh unless you're playing for Bangladesh. So I think he thrives in that sort of like he's an underdog within an underdog. Like no one really paid him a lot of attention until he does something massive. So and I think he thrives in that role. I think that's at least my understanding. I've met him a number of times. I've been to his house once last year. A very humble family. They have they've given their all to this kid to make him into what he is today. And he's also quite a friendly character. I mean, he remember on the 4th day of the first Rawalpindi test, he comes to the press conference, and I'm the only one who's speaking Bengali with him. And I just slyly asked him, "Is there a turn on the wicket?" And he looked at me, his eyes like brightened up, and he said, "Yeah, there will be turn tomorrow." I said, "Then why didn't you use spinners today?" Because they didn't use spinners in that evening session. And I said, "Why should we tell them that there's turn on the wicket? Let's see tomorrow." So like a potential captain, a potential. I think Shakib stepping away from Bangladesh cricket is one of those panic things that, like one of those panic moments that everyone is dreading, like what's going to happen. But I think with some cricketers, they have a bit of a cushion. When Shakib is great, it's really really difficult to replace an all-rounder of that caliber. But if Mehidy keeps doing well in the next 12 months, I think that handover will be quite, at least in the test and the ODI team will be quite good.
I
Yeah,
am
and
surprised. I am surprised that you call him underrated, man. I mean, I saw him batting. He doesn't look like someone who has a 22 average in Test cricket. He has no business batting at 8. I think he should be 6. He's a 6 batter, and Litton
Yeah,
should
I
be.
also think he should be 6. But the thing is, currently in Bangladesh cricket, there is a star culture, celebrity culture. So he doesn't really fit into that culture, maybe. And I mean, I'm not talking about it, and I'm not complaining about it. But I think it's the truth. I mean, it's how it is here, and that's how he functions. And I think, as I said, I think he thrives in that role where he's not really rated too highly. You won't see a lot of big quotes from him. Not a lot of, I think he has a few endorsements, and he's happy with what he's got. That is one really great thing about him. And I think he's also learned from the senior cricketers, learned from their careers where to stop and where to start. And there's a lot to talk about in that way. But I think Mehidy has so far got it right.
Yeah.
Isam, like you take 4 players like Mushfiqur, Leighton, Mehidy, and Shakib, and like any team which has those 4 players should have so much flexibility in building the rest of their lineup. I mean, they give you so much opportunity. Like if you play the 3 best wicket-taking bowlers in Bangladesh, alongside Mehidy and whoever they might be, alongside Mehidy and alongside Mehidy and Shakib, that's a really good 11. Then you play whoever batters in the remaining positions. So the other thing about India is that, in terms of spin bowling, it's not really one country. This is something Ashwin keeps talking about all the time. That the West requires a different kind of spin bowling to the South, and the North and the Northeast require still different kinds of spin bowling. And I think one of the reasons why visiting spinners get into trouble in India compared to the Indian spinners is that, it takes some experience to come to terms with sort of this variety. Because what is required in Kanpur is probably going to be very different to what is required in Chennai. And especially when they're playing only bowlers. 2 tests. Yeah, even fast bowlers is the same thing because the pitches are so different. So, I mean, and given that they are playing only 2 tests and they're not playing a preparation match, that's a little rough on them. But, but I mean, Shakib has played a lot in India, so he probably knows a lot about this.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, that Paras Mamre actually, who was on our podcast recently, he spoke precisely about this point exactly, and he said, the reason why India's bowlers outbowl the opposition bowlers. I mean, of course, they are forget the quality that is there, but one of the reasons is the conditions. They are so adept at using conditions across the board. They know how to bowl in, the South with this kinds of soil you get in the South and the kinds of soil you get in the West. They are quick to adapt, and it takes a while for a visiting fast bowler, however good they are. I mean, they may be absolutely great in their conditions, but it takes time for them to get used to it. Yeah, and I think, a bowler like, especially the Bangladesh fast bowlers, I think the spinners may figure it out quicker, but I think the fast bowling attack may take that little bit more time, and they really don't have that much time, unfortunately.
And there is something to be said about experience as well, man. I mean, sure, Bangladesh might have played only 4 test matches, but they have played, I mean, at least this spin attack has played a lot of test matches between them. I think Shakib, Mehidy and Taijul are the top 3 wicket takers, test wicket takers in their history. So So I that counts for a lot. And facing them is not going to be easy given India's recent series in Sri Lanka. So yeah, this will be. And Bangladesh have lucked out because Chennai and Kanpur might give them, a good assistance for their spinners. If this were in Dharmashala and Bangalore, for instance, it would have been a different series altogether. So yeah, I think a lot of things are going in favor of Bangladesh. So I do agree with KD there. I mean, this can be a interesting series for India as well.
No, and if Bangladesh even have one day like they did on Rawalpindi in second test, where their fast bowlers bowl with that kind of control and relentless pace of Nahid, India will have a tough time. I mean, India is also going to not find that easy. I mean, of course, you can say anything about the Pakistan batting and say that they are in shambles or whatever, but that was quality, high quality, bowling through the day.
And
That's
India
one
are
of
in
the-
a weird place right now, which is they have a lot of players who are very old now in cricket terms, and a lot of players who are very young, and they have this unsettled batting lineup. A lot of players coming, and they are under new management. So I
Yeah.
mean, the circumstances, the stars are aligning for, I mean, I for instance, I thought that England might sort of be the place where the decline began to show. Which all comes to all great eras. Where the best players age and the new players are not quite there. And the paradox of great era is that there are a lot of great players, and the great players all tend to get old together, and then they all tend to leave very quickly, and then the replacements take time to sort of come in, and the replacements are not obviously as good, every time. So, but England just didn't come with any bowling. I mean, that was a really weird England team. But
Oh, you're talking about England coming to India. I thought you were
Yeah.
talking about the England series next year.
no,
which
I
you
thought
think
earlier
will be-
this year
okay.
England would,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
there also everything seemed to be aligning. No, I mean, Jadeja was injured, Kohli withdrew, Pant was not there, Shami was not there,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. And so the injuries and the withdrawals and everything seemed to sort of conspire.
And they lost the first test. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they lost the first test to that freakish thing, the Pope innings. But sort of the quality sort of came through in the end, like the quality
See,
told.
that another problem visiting teams have against India and Bangladesh might have is that if India choose to go with four spinners, like they can, then India will have an endless batting lineup, man. Like Akshar will come at 8 or 9.
Yeah, but that's true. But I would, if I was Bangladesh, I would want that. I would look, if you have Shakib, Mehidy, and Taijul on a turning wicket, Bangladesh have got a chance. Especially against India's batting, which is inexperienced and unsettled. Like India played 18 players in 5 test matches against England. That's not typically what successful teams do. That's a lot of churn. That's a lot of change, and they don't know who their top 6 really is right now. They don't know and their other problem is that their opening pair, one guy is 37 and the other guy is 21. So that's not a long-term solution in any rate, in any case. So if I was Bangladesh, I would say, God, let them prepare a turning pitch. Let them prepare some pitch where they are tempted to play 4 spinners. Because if they are tempted to play 4 spinners, our 3 spinners are going to do a lot of damage, and we're going to be in the game. Whereas I think if they prepare, I mean, if it turns out to be like a pink ball type thing, then Bumrah is unfortunately a bit of a cheat code right now. I mean, if he's anywhere close to his sort of 23-24 season form, then oh boy, this is going to be a handful.
Isam, we haven't spoken about the. I want you to talk about the captain, Shanto. I saw you've written quite a bit about him, of course, but tell us a bit about him. He seems to be slightly, I mean, at least what I see on TV, far more calm temperament compared to, say a Shakib or anyone else who has captained Bangladesh before. And tell us about him and the effect you think that his temperament and his he has had on the team.
As far as the Bangladesh captain is concerned, he obviously has won 3 Test matches now, New Zealand once, and now 2 Test matches in Pakistan. So he will be taken seriously in that dressing room, and people will follow him. People will try to take his calmness into their stride as well. The other thing about Shanto is that he's a free-flowing player. He's a expressive character. Is an aggressive batter. So that would also play to his advantage. The problem, however, is that he's been handed one of those captaincies where it's a bit like what Ponting faced after the greats retired. Of course, Mushfiq and Shakib are still around, but it's not easy to captain a Bangladesh team when it's in transition. I mean, transition captains haven't had it great for Bangladesh for a long time. And that is Shanto's biggest challenge. And the fact that he hasn't scored that many runs in the last 8-9 months, that could be another factor for him. So I think Shanto has already unified the team in Pakistan. That was a great example. And I think they want him as a long-term guy, but I think his batting form will also come under the scanner soon, which could be a problem. I mean, if he starts to score runs, of course, everything is going to be okay. But from a character point of view, I think he's very strong. I think he understands his job. That is not just captaining a cricket team; it's captaining a nation that is crazy about cricket. He understands that it is a team in transition with so many seniors. He's captain in all 3 formats now, so that could be another question mark for him soon, for himself, whether he wants to carry on for the 3 formats. If they can find someone else for other formats, even he might be interested in that. But at the moment, I think he's the right fit in this situation of a transition where you have guys like Mushfiq and Shakib, you have guys like Nahid Rana, and you need that balancing act where one of the mid-20s guys is leading the team so that everyone can relate to him and everyone can find him accessible.
I mean, we just barely touched upon this, but given the political climate at the time, it just adds to the aura around that series even more. I mean, I can imagine 50 years later when we think of this series, I may not even be alive, but whatever, when other people think of this series, there will also be that it happened at such an important moment for the country too. I mean, with what the country was going through. Isn't that, Isam? I mean, can you talk a bit about that?
Absolutely. Definitely. Yeah, I mean, when I was leaving for Islamabad, I remember that, we had to stay up all night because there was a security concern in Dhaka at that time. The police weren't back. The players were talking about it, and everyone was glued to what was happening back home from Pakistan. Every day there was something happening back home. And just imagine that when Bangladesh were leaving Dhaka, there was virtually no board. Like, there was the cricket board was only run by the employees. The board president had, for lack of a better word, escaped out of the country somewhere because he had his political connections. Every board director who has a political connection is so far missing. Only the ones without political connection are in view. We can meet them.
This is like a crime thriller, man.
Yeah, man, seriously. But even now, I mean, given the situation between Bangladesh and India, it's not 100% okay. There is the elephant in the room with the prime minister, the former prime minister of our country in India at the moment. So it is also another bit of a edgy sort of tour coming up. But I hope it'll all go well in that front. And Bangladesh showed great. I think Bangladesh were great ambassadors in Pakistan, especially the way they conducted themselves on and off the field.
There was not a single incident. Usually Bangladesh have had some trouble with in Sri Lanka sometimes, some years back. So I just feel that this was the right approach that they took to Pakistan. One huge factor that we didn't talk about, and I don't think we need to talk about this, but just want to mention it, that there was no distraction for Bangladesh, despite so many things happening. What I mean by that is that usually the last 15 years with HM Mustafa Kamal and Nazmul Hassan Papon being in charge, it was a very I mean, they would bother the team basically. I'm lack of a better word. They would just bother the team. They would call the coach up in the middle of the night, want to know what the selection is going to be, what they're going to do at the toss. I don't know why they would do that. There are lots of theories of this. But board directors would travel with the team. It was always like that, and that was so frustrating that they never could turn. I mean, I think earlier in the show we talked about why Bangladesh couldn't be consistent. One of the reason was this, that they play a home test match, they are bombarded by board directors walking into the dressing room, the board president going into the dressing room, talking big, coming to the media, saying that I've been to the dressing room, I've spoken to all of them. What meaning it had for the team, no one really found out. But then we later found out that it put a lot of pressure on the players, that public humiliation. That whenever I remember when Mehidy played this one great knock, I don't remember which one, but the board president came out and said, "Oh, I didn't know he could hit sixes." And I remember Mehidy didn't take it well. So many incidents. I mean, this lack of distraction. I heard that the current board president, I think he called the manager once during the tour. Is everything going okay? Yeah, okay, fine. That's it. That's all the board president needed to do with the touring party. If it was Nazmul Hassan, he would have probably been in Pakistan, or he would have called every day. And that call is a dreaded call. And, it's fueled by Facebook rumors. It's fueled by, conspiracy theories. So to cut it short, I think this tour was also a very cricketing experience for the sort of like the right experience that the players wanted in a tour where they needed to win a series.
Isam,
Yeah, I hope.
Isam, Papon not being there helped the Bangladesh team, but for a small minority of us who are a big fan of his wild shenanigans, calling the captain in the middle of the World Cup, scolding him and all that. It's a big loss, man. His loss is mourned by a small minority of us.
Yeah,
It's
but
like-
Isam,
it's
the
like-
thing is not just that he does it. It's that it gets in the papers. Like,
Yeah, man.
he
he's
does
the
it to
wildest
tell the
guys,
world,
man.
not to tell the
Because
players.
he comes out, he does this his press conference. I'll tell you, give you a brief of his press conference. Usually 45 minutes.
Like, why
First
does he
15
give
minutes.
press conferences in the first place? Like, why?
Because because the camera is there, brother. There's a camera there, and a boom, a mic there. He can see it in the TV later on. Call his friends, tell his WhatsApp group that I was on. Even say around 2017, he told me that he was normally talking to me one day or in a press conference, I remember, and he was just name dropping Shakib, Tamim, and I realized that that was the
He's
thing.
a fan,
Basically, he's a fan basically, but now the fan with a lot of power. Now, 45-minute press conference would go on with him analyzing the match for 20 minutes. And then the rest of the 25 minutes, you try to get something out of him. But if he's giving a press conference every day, he's like I always compared him to Donald Trump coming to the media and talking nonsense. Honestly, he was like that. And then if there's a moment in my life where I thought, it worked for the Bangladesh team, it never did. Maybe he did a few favors for them with certain things, but it really didn't help. It really didn't help them. And honestly, the new people who are in charge now, Farooq Ahmed, he was a chief selector on 2 occasions, and he is regarded as the most effective chief selector in Bangladesh's history. He was the one who gave breaks to Shakib, Tamim, Mushfiq, Mahmudullah, and all these guys back in 2006 and 7. When he came back in 2013, he continued his good work, and the only thing that happened with him at that time was he had a huge quarrel with Chandika Hathurasinghe, which ended up with Farooq Ahmed quitting the role. And now he's back, and he's capable. He's capable of
running cricket. I think he has managed a few things in his life that gives me confidence that he may be the man who could take Bangladesh cricket slightly forward.
Yeah, wonderful. So, as I said, Isam, of course, put together a book a few years ago on the Tiger's Trail, and we spoke about it on the podcast. But Isam, I would urge you to write maybe a book on this series, if possible. I mean, you were there; you were the only journalist who was there. You saw these two tests. You are so clued into Bangladesh cricket. So, please consider this. If not these two tests, you can even expand it to like something broader, but yeah, please consider. But thank you so much for joining and giving us all these wonderful thoughts about cricket in Bangladesh. And we hope that we can have you again after this series, and to talk about how things went, and also hopefully Bangladesh end up winning a test, and that'll be even better to talk about. Looking forward to this series. Really hope Bangladesh continue with this, fine run that they've had. Really looking forward to seeing Bangladesh's pace attack. I mean, bowling attack in general, of course. But I've seen the spinners often before. But really looking forward to seeing Nahid Rana and Taskin and others, and hoping to see they hope they can have a fine day or two and pull off a famous win. Thank you, Ashoka. Thank you, Kartikeya, as usual. Thank you, Isam. And we'll join you again after the first test. We usually do a review of the tests that India play. So looking forward to that. You can, of course, subscribe to our podcast. You can visit us on 81allout.com. You can tweet us at 81allout on X. And you can also buy the books that we've republished. I'll give the links to all the books, including War Minus the Shooting, Cricket Beyond the Bazaar, and The Summer Game. So take care and good night.
India have won the test match. India have won the series. They're going to get back for two.